Hi everybody. I figured today I'd introduce my other cat. This is Calvin. He hasn't wanted to be in any of our videos. He's pretty rebellious, but this is him. So, figured you should meet him this week too. He won't even look at the camera. He's so bad. Okay, bye Calvin. He's grumpy. Okay, so hopefully everybody's still doing well. Let's go ahead and talk about chapter 8. So yesterday I told you guys that there would be a tragic event that you would read about involving my favorite character. And that character that you should have read about yesterday was Miss Maudie, and her house ended up actually catching on fire. And that was mainly what chapter 8 was all about. And as a result of this fire, we actually get to discover who has been doing a lot of these mysterious events in the book so far. And the book doesn't come out and tell us who's been doing these things. We kind of have to figure it out through hints in the story. So let's talk about the 3 things we figure out, and then I'll kind of point you guys to where some of those hints were in your reading yesterday. Some of you probably noticed it already from the reading yesterday. Some of you might still not really know what I'm talking about, so we'll definitely go over all that together. So the 3 things we figure out are, first of all, who ended up hanging Jem's pants up on the fence and mending them. And we discover that Boo Radley was the one behind that. We also discover that Boo Radley was the one who has been putting all of those items that you copied and pasted pictures for on Tuesday. So he's been putting all those items in the knot hole in the tree. And then finally, during the fire, when everybody's standing around watching it, we discover that Boo is the one who ends up putting a blanket around Scout's shoulders. She kind of realizes as she's watching the fire that she's not as cold as she was before, and there ends up being a blanket put around her. And so here's kind of some of the hints that tell us who ended up doing these things now that we know it's Boo Radley. And we're kind of figuring this out all at the same time that the kids are, that Jem and Scout are, which is kind of a cool thing about this book. It kind of puts us in the same position that they are, where we're all kind of wondering what's going on, and then we kind of figure it out together. So I know the page numbers aren't going to match up. I have my own copy of the book at home. This is actually just one that I've had. I didn't even bring my school copy home. I just happen to have it here. So I'll say a page number. It won't really add up for you guys, but you should be able to find it if you want to, and if you read back through chapter 8. But in my book, it's on page 95. And so on this page, Atticus, the kid's dad, is asking, Scout, whose blanket do you have around your shoulders? What is that? And Scout says, I don't know whose blanket it is. I'm not sure. And it says, I turned to Jem for an answer, but Jem was even more bewildered than I. He said he didn't know how it got there. We did exactly as Atticus had told us. We stood down by the Radley gate, away from everybody. We didn't move an inch. Jem stopped. So he realizes all of a sudden, wait a second, we've been standing by the Radley's gate through this whole fire. What's going on? Who put this blanket on Scout? And then suddenly Jem starts to kind of spill everything to his dad. So all of the secrets that they've been keeping in the book so far, he tells him. He says, Mr. Nathan was at the fire. I saw him. He was tugging that mattress. Atticus, I swear. So Jem realizes, wait a second, Nathan Radley was helping put out the fire. He was helping move furniture out of the house. So if Nathan wasn't at home and Boo was, that could mean Boo was allowed outside. And it says on page 96 in my book, Jem seemed to have lost his mind. He began pouring out our secrets left and right in total disregard for my safety, if not for his own, omitting nothing, knothole, pants, and all. And so he's just telling his dad everything that's happened so far, like I said. And then it says, Atticus said, "Whoa, son," so gently that I was greatly heartened. It was obvious that he had not followed a word Jem said, for all Atticus said was, "You're right. We'd better keep this and the blanket to ourselves. Someday, maybe Scout can thank him for covering her up." And so, since Scout is so much younger than Jem, she's still really lost. Jem is figuring this all out, kind of putting the pieces together, telling his dad everything that happened. And so Scout says, "Thank who? Who should I thank for the blanket? What's going on?" And Jem says, "Boo Radley. You were so busy looking at the fire, you didn't know it when he put the blanket around you." My stomach turned to water and I nearly threw up when Jem held out the blanket and crept toward me. He sneaked out of the house, turned around, sneaked up, and went like this. So Jem is kind of demonstrating what he now remembers seeing Boo Radley do. You know, he says, I saw him do it. He put that blanket around you while we were watching the fire. So we start to realize at this point that Boo Radley might not be so bad after all. He has been doing all of these nice things for the kids, and like I talked about from the last video yesterday, he's a real person and he feels sympathy for the kids. He wants to connect with them. And so he's becoming more and more human to the kids, which is why Scout has such an intense reaction to realizing, oh my gosh, he's real. Like, he's really doing these things and he's a real person. So that was chapter 8, and hopefully you guys did okay on the questions. Let's go ahead and preview chapter 9. So in chapter 9, I kind of think of this chapter like Atticus's chapter. So we're going to learn a lot more about him, about his job. My cat just jumped up on this table. This is a madhouse. I'm so sorry. Calvin, get down. Oh my gosh. Clearly not the best video quality here, guys. Sorry. Bear with me. So chapter 9, it's Atticus's chapter. We're going to learn a lot about him. And he is tasked in this chapter with, remember, he's a lawyer. So he gets the job of defending a man named Tom Robinson. And Tom Robinson is a black man, which is significant for this book because at this time, even though slavery was over, blacks and whites were still not considered equals. Blacks still didn't have the same rights as whites, and a lot of things were different back then than the way they are now. So Tom Robinson the crime he's accused of is raping a white woman. And of course, this is a horrific crime no matter what, but back then, the fact that Tom is black and the woman is white was significant because back then, blacks and whites couldn't even date or get married like we can now. And so for him to commit this act to a white woman would have been completely not only a wrong crime like we would consider it today, but because of the race, it would have been almost unfathomable. Like, people wouldn't have even been able to believe that he would do that this would happen. And moreover, he would have had, in most people's mind, no chance of winning that case in court. Even if he was actually innocent, which we don't know yet if he was innocent or guilty, if he really did it or not, but he wouldn't have stood a chance in court. no matter what, because the jury would have looked more favorably on the white woman and automatically said he's guilty. So in this chapter, we hear about that job that Atticus has, and we also hear other people's opinions about that job. So because of the situation I just explained, a lot of people think that Atticus is a fool for even taking on this job, because he doesn't have to do it. He's choosing to defend Tom Robinson. And so a lot of people, kids and adults, call him names and just think that he's an idiot, basically, for taking this on, that he's never going to win, it's going to damage his career, and all that kind of stuff. But we know that Atticus is a good man, he's honest, and he believes in doing the right thing. And so that's what he's trying to do by defending Tom Robinson, when probably not other lawyers are willing to do that. Okay, the last thing that you'll read about in chapter 9 is more people in Scout's family. So she gets to meet, in this chapter, two people, her Aunt Alexandra and her Uncle Jack. And you'll get to see what kind of people they are. I'll say Uncle Jack is just an interesting character. Aunt Alexandra, you'll see, I won't give everything away, but she's kind of an unpleasant person. Like, we know Scout pretty well at this point, and Aunt Alexandra basically wants Scout to be someone that she's not, and I'll let you guys read for yourselves in what way that is. But yeah, we'll leave it at that for chapter 9. Now, as far as what you guys are going to be doing today, you're going to be just doing questions after this. I feel like you guys get the idea by now. But I wanted to talk about what you'll be doing tomorrow, since it's going to be a little bit different. Tomorrow there's not going to be a video from me. We're going to keep it nice and simple and kind of give you a little bit of a break from all the hard work you've been doing this week. Hopefully it'll be a break. You're not going to read any more in the book tomorrow. I'm just going to have you do a journal. And the journal is going to be over what kind of insult, if somebody insulted you, what would be kind of the worst one that someone could say to you as far as insults go. And the reason that I'm asking that question is, like I said, Atticus takes on a lot of insults, people saying bad things about him in this chapter. And I just kind of want to hear your opinion about it, because everybody has things that, kind of make them tick, that, something that might bother me a lot, if somebody said something to me, might not bother one of you at all. So I'm interested to see tomorrow your opinion about insults and what would bother you, what wouldn't. And that's all you're doing tomorrow, just a journal. So you guys will see all the directions on Classroom. Remember to reach out to me if you have questions, and have a good weekend, and I'll be seeing you guys on Monday.